Hello, and you are listening to the Tech and Tonic podcast, episode 15. This is the podcast where we talk and discuss everything that has to do with tech, even gaming, actually, because this week is E3. But we'll talk about that next week, okay? Because we are going to be talking a little bit about what happened last week. And you're joining me again, Darwin and Jeevan, to talk about everything that's tech and to talk about last week. So, Jeevan, what happened last week?
It was a rather eventful week, actually. We had Android 12 beta being released, well, beta 2. So a lot more of the features they talked about at Google's I.O. is finally being revealed or integrated into Android 12.
Right, so it's more of the privacy and security type of release, I think, for beta 2, because they are also releasing with this beta 2 the access to camera and mic controls, and then also the privacy dashboard is now in beta 2. So we're likely going to see Android 12 coming to devices, especially the Pixel, in full by August. That's what we know lah.
Yep.
Okay, or at least that's what their Android development path dictates. What else?
We also had Touch and Go's Go Plus investment platform hitting 1 million users, which is a very interesting milestone because Go Plus actually gives you returns every day. So I've been using it for a little bit, and it's super simple to use. You just basically leave your money there and forget about it. And it's licensed by Bank Negara.
Yeah, but again, it's not that much lah. Okay, don't expect like super high returns, right? This is technically a kind of like a savings platform, but it's still better returns than your bank, and you see the returns every day. But don't expect it to be very big numbers. It's not. Okay.
Yeah. The Microsoft Surface Laptop 4 is finally available in Malaysia as well. If I'm not mistaken, it starts at about 3,000 ringgit for the Surface laptop.
Still expensive.
Yes, very expensive actually.
Well, the Surface laptops or the Surface devices has never been cheap, right? So it's kind of expected, I think.
Yeah. And on top of that, we also had Huawei releasing their Matepad Pro 2021 in Malaysia. Again, prices are a little bit on the high side, if you ask me. If I remember correctly, it's about 3,000 ringgit as well.
This is the Matepad Pro 12.6 inch, right? It's not a kind of like a 2021 or 2020 version, because the one that we saw last year was actually the 10.1 inch version. Okay, so the new one comes with an LED display, if I'm not wrong, and with slightly higher resolution and a bigger size, updated pen and stuff like that, and it sells for 3,999 ringgit. That competes directly with the iPad Pro in terms of pricing, nearly, okay, because it's slightly cheaper. But would you get it? I'm not sure, because it comes with HMS, obviously, but it doesn't come with Google Play. Again.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
So, we'll see how it goes. The other thing that happened, which I think both of us were quite excited for, was Sony released the 4th version of their WF-1000X.
Actually, it's not the 4th version. It's actually the 3rd version of the WF-1000X Mark IV. It's Mark IV, obviously, but at the same time, it's only the 3rd generation because they skipped number 2. Remember?
Oh yeah, we actually asked Sony about this.
Yeah, but anyway, it comes with a completely new processor on its own. So supposedly it's got better noise cancelling, and there's a new sort of driver. It's still a 6mm driver, very small driver, but apparently they've updated the driver to give you better bass response, which also means that you get bigger booms. And it's priced at 1,099 ringgit. That's 200 ringgit more expensive than the older earphones, if I'm not wrong, the earbuds that we actually have.
Yeah, but it's also one of the better ones on the market even the last model, I think up to today we haven't heard anything that can compete with it directly. At least I haven't.
So far, no lah, not yet lah. I mean, even in reviews, people are saying that this is slightly better than the older one, okay, and it's much better than its competition in terms of not just really a sound quality wise, it's also better in terms of battery life and noise cancelling. As you know, Sony is one of the leaders in noise cancelling, so that's quite expected, I think.
Yeah, and I guessing it's going to be a lot more comfortable than the ones that we have because it seems to fit a lot better in the ear.
And they have new earbuds. They actually produce some sort of foam plus silicon hybrid type of earbuds to seal noise better and to fit in your ears slightly better. So supposedly that's more comfortable and more noise cancelling than regular silicon earbuds that we are used to.
Yep. But I think the highlight of the whole week was WWDC.
Hey, there's more happening.
There
more happening last week. Yes, a lot more. So Vivo last week announced that they had like this mobile photography competition called Vision Plus. It's focused on mobile photography, right? And we've spoken about this mobile photography topic thing quite a few times, but a lot of these smartphone brands are pushing for it, and Vivo is doing that Vision Plus competition. So that's that. Okay. Hisense, they released a new 8K TV. Guess how much it is, Jivan?
Hisense, I'm guessing about 3,000 to 4,000 ringgit.
8K.
Ouch. But then
No. 8K resolution.
10,000 bucks?
24,999 ringgit.
Ouch. Oh my god, that's a lot.
Yes, that's a lot, but it's actually half the price of what you get from the Samsung's TV lah, obviously, right? And the best part is that they tell you that we're using a ULED technology, but when I read through the press release, it's basically quantum dot. So yeah, it's a Samsung TV with Android TV OS in that thing.
Is Hisense using Android TV already?
Yeah. So apparently this is released with Android TV, okay? Or at least that's what they say in the press release, right? It's coming soon to Malaysia, I think. But you do have to order it because it comes with the size starting at 75-inch, if I'm not wrong, and it is quite an expensive TV. I don't think they do keep stock here. Still, if you want a cheap 8K TV for gaming or, for your living room, Hisense has it. And it's still quantum dot, so that's not bad, right? Now,
the fact that it's quantum dot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Xiaomi also launched their 4K, QLED TV last 2 weeks? 2 weeks ago? Was it? Yeah.
About 2 weeks ago.
That's that. And on entertainment, I guess everybody has heard Loki and Lupin, is out now last week as well. Loki obviously on Disney Plus Hotstar in Malaysia, and Lupin on Netflix. It's not Lupin, is it? It's Lupin. Lupin. Yeah, it's French. Okay. Yeah. Don't ask me. I'm not French. I don't speak French. Anyway, moving on to corporate news. I think Acer launched an Altos BrainSphere server of some kind. It's supposedly NVIDIA or AMD certified. You can fit 8 graphic cards in that thing. I'm actually not sure what it's for, but it's a server. They were asking us whether we want to talk about it, and never mind. But also AMD, it's fitted with AMD's EPYC 7002 series processor, and it can fit up to 2 of that. So you get 64 cores in one server. You technically can use it for a server farm, a data center, or you can use it as a virtual machine. At least that's what the press release, or at least that's what the press release says. But
Yep.
alongside that, also HP Enterprise, not entertainment. I almost said entertainment. They also released their own something called Altera 6000 series. This is more for data purposes, for data storage purposes. So that's that. Now, back to the biggest thing that happened last week. Like Jivan said, I think the highlight, really, everyone's talking about it, is WWDC 2021. And what came? Jivan, what came?
For me, I think the biggest news out of WWDC, aside from all the updates for the OSs, is the fact that Apple is actually introducing a whole bunch of features that allow your medical history or your health to be a lot more personal. So they have
Mm-hmm.
basically extended their health app to allow you to share your data and also give you insights and keep track of your trends and stuff like that, which is very important for people who, like my parents, have chronic conditions. So
Right. I mean, this update is released together with WatchOS 8 as well,
yeah,
right? And I actually think that this is kind of like a natural step forward for Apple because, okay, to be fair, okay, we are into smartwatches and things like that. And so far, I think the best way to collect your health data is not a Fitbit, it's not an Android Wear, it's not even a Samsung Galaxy Watch. To us, or by data wise and how they collect the data and how you can share the data, it's still an Apple Watch.
yeah, and there is no two ways about it. I think we were just speaking about this a few episodes ago where Fitbit basically puts a paywall between you and your data.
Yep.
And Apple, instead of putting a paywall there, they have basically said, okay, here are all the features, all your data. You can share it securely with your healthcare provider or your
Mm-hmm.
significant other or your friends. You can have competitions
Don't
between
share it with your
yourself.
friends like that.
You can actually have competitions between your friends and you using your metrics. And it makes so much sense. So things like monitoring your heart rate, or it as a new feature monitoring the stability of how you're walking,
Oh
which I
yeah, they
think
were talking about that too.
so it works together with your iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
And so if your stride is unstable, it will actually notify you.
And it will teach you how to walk.
Yes,
I'm
it
not
will give
kidding.
it will give
They actually,
you exercises to walk more stably.
yeah, we're not kidding about this feature. It sounds like, oh, I'm not a baby. Why do I need to learn how to walk? You do. Your walking stability actually helps you a lot, from
Yeah.
saving yourself from falling. Because that's
And
sometimes, the problem when you start walking and you trip a lot, it could be because of your walking posture.
yeah, and on top of that, a lot of older people tend to have problems when they have a fall. So like I have
Yep.
had instances where friends and other family members, the older people have actually fallen down.
Mm-hmm.
And this has caused like months and months of rehab being needed. And sometimes it even highlights a different issue altogether. So it's
Yeah.
very important that you learn how to walk properly or maintain your stability when you're walking. But for me, the biggest highlight of this new feature is actually the fact that I can actually take the data and send it over to my doctor a few days before my appointment. And my doctor, based on that data, can run a specific set of tests or ask for more data from the app. And based on that, treat what needs to be treated or probably pinpoint what could be wrong with my body.
Because
And
I think
it's,
it's very important. That's very important, I think. Sharing
yeah,
this data across to doctors. Because I think we have also experienced, not in Malaysia, okay, where your data from one hospital doesn't get transferred to another hospital, even if you're being referred by a different doctor from a separate hospital to this doctor, and they've communicated about it, data never gets shared across.
Yeah, they expect you to have your whole patient history in a file. So,
which is usually not complete sometimes.
yeah, and the biggest thing about it is that Apple's health app even allows you to put in data like your cholesterol levels, and it even takes in data like how active you've been throughout your day and stuff like that, which, given to a doctor, like if you are forced to change doctors, this can be a lifesaver, literally.
Yeah.
But that's my highlight. I'm not sure what yours is.
Well, I think that's also one of the highlights that I have, but I think it's all the new updates, like for all their devices. This doesn't include tvOS, obviously, in the WWDC 2021. They didn't really talk much about tvOS and the Apple TV platform, right? But I guess they highlighted a lot on the iOS, the iPad OS, and what else? The
Mac
Watch
OS
OS,
Monterey.
and even the Mac OS. They announced a new Mac OS, right? They
Yep.
announced, what's this called? Monterey. Yeah, Monterey. It's one of the valley and mountain, one of the landmarks in California. It's tradition, right, for them to name after it. It's the new Mac OS, and it's supposedly more seamless than ever. But I'm more excited about the iPad OS and iOS, especially iPad OS. Actually, on the side of iOS, I think what they've done is they've given more control to the user. Okay, and it's pretty much not really to say the same thing all over again, but it's mostly the same things that you're getting from, the older iOSs, except that this time, you get more privacy control than ever. I think that's the highlight for the iOS, in my opinion.
It's across the board for Apple this year. They have they did actually commit last year to making their OS more secure, more private. And I think they have done that to a large extent this year with their announcements.
But it's not just this year that they've given that privacy announcement or given control back to the users, because in iOS 14 they actually have these things on tap already, even before Android came out and say, yeah, we're gonna allow you to monitor everything, right? With especially Android 12. Okay. Apple took that announcement and went ahead, step forward and said, okay, we're gonna give you allowance to monitor. They don't really give you allowance to control what kind of apps is using what kind of data, okay? But they've stepped it up for this year, and it looks to be very, very comparable to what Android is doing with privacy dashboard as well in Android 12, okay? So I think that's a step forward for not just iOS users, it's for everybody, because privacy is a big concern in today's world, especially since if you're working from home, you probably have like 2 to 3 devices that you're connecting to the internet, and that could be a big leak for you, for your data, especially.
And I think to me, what seems to be the first time, Apple is leaps and bounds ahead when it comes to so-called features on their platforms. Because usually what we see after WWDC is, Android had this first, and it's now only coming to Apple or iOS.
Yeah.
But in terms of privacy, Android, even with Android 12, is nowhere near the amount of control that Apple has given across the board.
That is true. We have to admit that, and that's really something. And iOS also comes with a lot of new upgrades, like turning off focus or turning on focus for different work modes, and surfacing different notifications towards you, right, for you. So you can set, let's say, your phone in work mode from 9 to 5, let's say, okay, and whatever emails or notifications that has to do with work surfaces to you first, and the other notifications gets dialed back and pulled back and probably surfaces later Okay, you even have like different settings for whatever time you want it to go into, or whatever mode you want it to go into. So that's iOS, and that goes across all their platforms as usual. This is Apple we're talking about. They like
Yeah.
seamlessness, right? They will do
And
that for even Mac OS.
and I think one of the biggest seamless like new features is the fact that you can use your iPad as a second screen for your Mac.
Yeah, that
With the
comes
new
in
update.
iPad OS 15, right? iPad
Yeah.
OS 15, I think is quite exciting because this makes, well, at least the iPad Pro for 2021 look even more desirable. It
And
just makes sense.
and to be very honest, if you think about it, even both of us work with more than one screen.
Hmm.
And we work across devices. It makes so much sense to allow your two biggest productivity houses to actually talk to each other.
Yeah, and that's what Apple has been doing very, very well, right? But what I'm talking about, at least for iPad OS 15, is something called Swift Playgrounds. That's, to me, very, very clever because you can now develop apps on an iPad. You don't
Mm-hmm.
need a Mac, don't need a PC. You just need an iPad and you can start learning to code and develop apps for the iOS and even the iPad and even the Mac OS. It's quite amazing lah to me.
Yeah, and the biggest thing I think that will come out of Swift Playgrounds is you're making development for your platform that much more accessible.
It's so much easier.
People,
It's plug and play.
yeah, and you have to admit a lot of schools and development courses ask you to use an iPad or a MacBook rather than a PC at this point because of this type of features. And
Hmm.
with them introducing this, I
It
don't
really changed
think
the game.
it really
It
does.
really changed the game. And because of this, I actually think that app development on iOS, or at least the Apple platforms, is going to really, really, really accelerate, far beyond what we can think of for even PC or, the iOS or Android, sorry, right?
And
Don't
I
talk about game developments lah, okay? Because game developments always focus on the consoles and Windows and Xbox and whatnot, right? But
I think it's only
apps,
a matter of
functionals.
time before we can develop on Unity on the Mac or rather
Well,
the iPad.
well, there is already a Unity development thing going on for the iOS, the iPad OS, and Mac OS. And Unity is basically a game engine they can utilize anywhere, right? But I think on the side of utilities and the booming of the app industry, I think is going to happen again with Swift programming at least. And
Yeah,
educationally, this is a really, really, really easy tool to work with for schools. Not if you don't get to learn this in schools, you can just buy an iPad and learn it on your own, right? And you don't even need an iPad Pro. You just need
yeah,
an iPad that supports iPad OS 15. That's
and
amazing.
it's not only that. I think the biggest thing for me is that with iPad OS 15, the gap between Android tablets and iPads
It just
is
went further, man.
even bigger because
It's not even a gap anymore.
exactly. It, I mean, yes, we have powerful tablets on Android, but Android
i.e.
isn't.
the Matepad Pro, huh?
Matepad Pro is on Harmony already now. We
Well,
have only
technically,
the Samsung.
if you consider Harmony OS, it's basically another skin of EMUI, which is a skin on
True.
top of Android. And you can technically install. We're not supposed to say this, but because we're not really, Huawei's influencer, we can actually say this now. You can technically install Android apps on HMS, on Harmony OS.
Yeah.
So it's technically Android under the skin without Google Play. that's
Yeah,
harming OS currently.
but at the same time, Android has Google has done very little in the past few years to optimize Android for tablets.
Yeah, that is true.
And Apple has been working so much to make their iPads. I think we have actually asked this. Where does the MacBook Air fit with the iPad Pros in the lineup?
But it's
Because
not.
they
I
are
think it's
nearly head to head when it comes to power at this point.
yeah, and I think the closest Android came to I think iPad OS or even the MacBook Pro or no, the MacBook Air, right, is the Chrome OS, and Chromebooks aren't actually doing as well as the Apple counterparts, I think, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
and they are bringing a lot of things that we take for granted on to iPad, like translation, on the
Mm.
fly conversational translations.
And
You
these are
can do it on your iPad already.
all on device. Okay, this is not using the data on the internet like what you do with Google Translate and things like that. This is
Yep.
all on device. Neural translation programs is now on device with iOS and iPad OS. Even Siri can do an on device basically command now. You don't need it to connect to the internet to, let's say, hey Siri, open up Spotify or whatnot. If I triggered any Apple devices out there, I'm so sorry. But yeah, you don't need Siri to be connected to the internet, okay, to, let's say, launch an app on your phone or to play something at your house, as long as there's Wi-Fi coverage, right, with your HomePod or whatever AirPlay devices you have. It's very easy. You don't need it to connect to the internet. Everything is on device. So what happens is also whatever conversation you have with Siri is collected on device itself. It's not being shared with Apple. It's not being shared with third-party companies, which is even more private now. That's
Yeah.
really ahead of its time, lah. Unheard of,
No,
I
I
think.
think Apple is proving that whatever has been said to us in the past decade about uh privacy and why we need to use the cloud so much when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to features like this,
Yeah,
I think they are proving that our devices are already powerful
capable.
enough and capable
Yeah,
to do it themselves.
yeah. So these are all amazing stuff actually coming from the Apple ecosystem. And this is towards the end of last year when I was talking to Jeevan about, upgrading my Samsung Galaxy Note 9, right? I
Yeah.
actually told him I'm really considering to move to the iOS platform, to iPhone 12. At the time, the iPhone 12 Pro Plus, if I'm not wrong, right?
Yeah.
That was like at its top, it's the top of the range
Pro
iPhone.
Max, I think.
Pro Max, yeah, something like that. I can't remember their names because I phone companies, your naming scheme, even the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra, you gotta cut it short. I don't know how, but cut it short. It's
Yeah.
annoying. But I was actually telling Jeevan that I'm really, really considering to move to the Apple platform. And the iPhone 12 was something that we were both excited about for some reason. And it's not
Yeah.
something to do with their, environmental awareness thing. I hate that, by the way. But it's more to do with, hey, this is actually an exciting smartphone. Like, there's a lot of new features in it. And then iOS 15 came, and you're like, oh, wow, this actually makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah,
And don't
and
say
on
that,
top of that, this is coming from two users that cannot live without their S Pen.
oh, I've gone accustomed to that, actually.
Yeah, so like even for me when I was using the S9, I needed my S Pen. But
Mm,
I think now we are willing to give it up just to have the convenience that iOS allows us. And
yeah.
it's not because of, they have the most amazing camera or stuff like that. It's small things like giving you your privacy back, giving you
Mm,
access to uh, conveniences that allow you to be more productive across the board.
yeah, correct. And,
So,
now iPad OS 15, you know, they have something called the app library now. It's like the app drawer. I mean,
Yep.
that's a feature that is brought over probably from Android. Okay, it's very accustomed. You're on an Android, you're very accustomed to it. You need an app drawer to look through all your apps, and that's also one good way to organize your home screen, right? That's what iPad OS 15 now is giving you. Okay, and they're enhancing widgets on iPad OS 15 to really personalize your own tablet experience. And because they have this focus notification thing going on, you can have slightly different home screens for every condition, if I am not wrong, or at least there's a possibility for that, right? Or they opened up an avenue to do that, basically, to really, really, really personalize your iPad, which
Yep.
is, I think, wow, there's a lot.
Yeah, and the thing, I think we were also mentioning this when we were talking about Material U. The amount of customization on Android is becoming very limited because we started with the Sky.
Yeah.
And they are not thinking about how to make it more personal anymore. They're like, we've given you everything, so we'll just optimize here and there.
Yeah, I mean, Material U on Android 12 really honestly looks really good on any given smartphone, especially if everything that they say about Material U is true. Like, you can customize how your home screen looks, how your notifications look, and stuff like that. It looks really good, honestly. And it looks a lot more intuitive as well.
Yep.
But on our side, like as a consumer, okay, when the iPad Pro 2021 came out with the M1 chip, both of us were so excited about it. And now and we were mentioning that, hey, if we can have like Mac OS type of apps or M1 optimized apps that are also available on M1 Macs, this would actually make a lot of sense. And iPad OS 15 really, really looks toward all of that. Like, it's coming closer to an actual computer that you can use, especially with Swift programming. Like, wow.
Yeah,
Why
and
not?
to be very honest, I would say if you are looking for a computer for your child, like a child that's going to standard 1, standard 2, you
Get
don't
an
need
iPad.
to buy a full on you don't need to buy a full on laptop. Just get them an iPad with the keyboard.
You don't need an iPad Pro, by the way, right? You just need a regular iPad that takes iPad OS 15, and you're ready to go. And you can even encourage your kids to learn programming. Like, oh, why not you develop your own game? I mean, a lot of parents out there would like that, right?
Yeah.
Instead of their kids playing games, they would like their kids to develop apps, right? Could
And
be
it's
something.
not only that, because of the amount of control that iPad OS, even iOS gives you, you can shut the iPad off at any time.
Using your iPhone.
Yes.
Using your iPhone. Just using your iPhone. You can just shut it down.
Yeah, you can
Parental
even use
control
your
at its
iPhone
best.
and give them warnings. You have 5 minutes left.
I mean, that's something also Android tries to do with a tablet, but so far, these family control workings, right, even on Windows, it's not great. These security updates or these security functions that you get on other devices, they're not exactly easy to use or easy to understand. On the iPad or on the Apple platform, is just a simple click away from the button. It just works, and that's what we really commend Apple for in their implementation, on top of their health features, right? Because they also helped, on top of WatchOS, they also helped a heart organization in US. I forgot what they're called, to develop their own apps.
Yep.
To monitor health for their patients. My goodness.
And not only that, they are one of the only companies that are developing wearables that is actively involved in research.
Yeah, and the same cannot be said with Android Wear or even Samsung's Galaxy platform. It's sad but true lah.
Yeah, like I think Apple's advances are beginning to make sense nowadays, because they have all this input on what is important. And to be very frank, the tables have turned. They are listening to what consumers want more than Google and Samsung and the rest of the Android players out there.
Yeah. So you're paying a premium. It is true. The iPad Pro is not cheap. The iPad itself is not exactly cheap as well. Even the Apple Watch is not exactly the cheapest smartware or smart wearable that you can find in the market. But honestly, with the new updates, that premium is kind of making sense, really, to me. Because it's not a world of hardware anymore. It's the world of services. What can you get from your device, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that is all the time we have for today's Tech and Tonic podcast. If you ask us, we can talk about this topic like forever, for the longest time, until even next year, and we'll still have a debate on whether or not we should still stick to Android or jump over to the iOS platform. Honestly, if Samsung wasn't nice enough to sponsor us a unit of Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra, I probably would have jumped to Apple. Honestly. And yeah, I'm grateful for Samsung giving us the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra. But anyway, that is all the time we have for the topic today, and we've actually gone over time, right, Jivan?
Yeah.
Like, I think about 10 minutes over time.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I personally, I have never been so excited for a WWDC. When I stayed up and I was listening to what they were saying, I was like, okay, why didn't you just do this last year? It made so much sense to me, and it made me excited for Apple's services as a platform.
Well, I think it's more about, the readiness of the product. I think that's what Apple has always been about, like whether or not this product or this feature is ready for the prime time. And I guess to them, it's ready now, which is great for us, obviously, or at least for Apple users, right?
Yeah.
So that is what's what for WWDC. At first, I wasn't too excited until I watched the keynote. But anyway, if you have any feedback or if you have comments or thoughts of your own on the Apple platform or Apple WWDC itself, you can reach out to us on social media. We are on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and even on Twitter. Okay, you can reach out to us at TechEntTV, TECHENT TV. If you're looking for the latest news of in tech or the latest reviews, you can check out our website at www.techent.tv. That's www.techent.tv. We are available on Spotify, on Google Podcasts, and we are also available on YouTube and even Apple Podcasts, So if you can reach out to us on all those platforms, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, or, just feedback to us, subscribe, and let us know what you think about the show or what you think about us or about Apple WWDC. That's it for now. I'm Darwin and Jivan. We're signing out for this week. Bye-bye.
See ya.